Wow, wow, wow. Thank you. Good evening. What a pleasure to be here with all of you. Canada, here we are. In this crucial time, this is the time where we must decide whether we're going to choose a government that has put us in a very vulnerable economical position in the face of the threats of Donald Trump for a fourth term, or are we going to choose change to put Canada first? What an amazing crowd. You know, this journey began about 3 years ago for our family, and we've been united ever since. My family, my husband, when he announced that he was running for the leader of the Conservative Party, he's been traveling from coast to coast to coast ever since, so that he can be on the ground with the people. Because what we need is a government and a leader that's going to be for the people and by the people. Leadership is born from true love for our country, from true patriotism. It is not born from the boardroom of the elite. It is not born from fancy degrees and fancy titles. The opposition looks down on my husband because he spent most of his life right here at home fighting for us all. But that is not something the opposition should look down on. They should not look down on our democracy. And it's pretty ironic that Mr. Carney is seeking public office, but he looks down on that job. So, here we are. My husband has put forward policies that's going to help all of us to make life more affordable. Policies to also help combat crime. But although I love all of these policies, I think what's important is to also understand who is the man behind those policies. Why are we doing this? My husband, he was born from a teenage mother, and he was put for adoption to 2 school teachers. He's been working his entire life. His family has worked so hard, and they lived paycheck to paycheck. My family, they immigrated here to Canada in 1995. We immigrated in the east end of Montreal. My father, he had to collect fruits and vegetables as his first job so that he can make ends meet. At some point, he had 3 jobs at minimum wage just so that he can make ends meet and feed our family. By the age of 17, I left home and I was financially independent. By the age of 19, I left Montreal and moved to Ottawa. I took a student loan, put myself through university. I worked full-time and studied full-time just so that I can afford a roof above my head and food on the table while studying. My husband and I have worked really, really hard for everything that we got. Nothing was handed to us. And my family came here for the Canadian Promise. And that was the promise that if you work hard, you can get ahead. So by the time that I was 25 and I was working in the Senate, which is where I met my husband, yes, I was 25, single woman at the time, a few months actually before I met Pierre, and I had saved just enough money so that as a single woman, I could afford a home. Imagine that. Back in 2012, I was working for $50,000 a year, saved $25,000, put a down payment on a little townhouse with 2 bedrooms. That is the Canadian Promise, and that was 3 years before the Liberal government took office. But ladies and gentlemen, hope is on the way. Because we are going to fight back to put Canada first with my husband and the next Prime Minister of Canada, Pierre Poilievre.
Amazing. Hey, good to see you. Wow. Hello, beautiful British Columbia. Who's ready to axe some taxes? Who's ready for homes you can actually afford? Who's ready to stop the crime? Who's ready to bring our jobs back home? And who's ready to put Canada first for a change? Wow. Look at this crowd. Incredible. I'm told there are as many as 5,000 people here today. Unbelievable. As I was driving up, I saw the people lined up in the rain. Have you ever had rain here before in British Columbia? It's nothing. You walk around in the rain for fun out here. I love being back in this place. Beautiful British Columbia. I love you too. I love you too. I, of course, am an Albertan, which is that alien species that invades your province every summer for your lakes and your oceans, and every winter for your ski hills. We do spend a lot of money here, but we love British Columbia as fellow Westerners. I gained some of my best lessons from my parents on those road trips. I remember when I was a little boy, we went camping in Penticton. So we drove all the way, road trip from Calgary. We got there and we pitched our tent, and I went to the shore, and lo and behold, there were these new things called jet skis. I'd never seen them before, but it looked thrilling. So I ran back and I told my dad he had to rent me one of these things. He went and checked. He said, it's $100. We're not paying $100 for you to buzz around on the lake, but we can rent you one of those little pedal boats. You know, the yellow things? So he rents me this little pedal boat. I go out into the middle of the lake. The rich kids come over with their jet skis and start splashing me and laughing at me. So I pedaled my way back to the side of the shore, and I went to my dad in tears and told him the story. And he said, I'll make you a deal. You can get back to Calgary, and we'll get you some jobs here and there, and you're going to save up some money. And by the time you turn 16, you'll have enough to borrow our minivan, the Chevy Lumina. You remember those things? They look like a spaceship. You can fill it up with gas. You can drive back out to the campground. You can rent yourself a space. and then you can pull the money out of your pocket that you earned and you can rent yourself a Sea-Doo for an hour. How does that sound? In other words, very simple lesson. If you want nice things in life, you have to work for it, right?